Hi, I'm Sandy Sims here with a tutorial on using the LHAND Percussive Mode. Quickly a tour of elements I'll be using in this video. A separate variable clock to step an ornament and crime module sequence mode. A passive crossfader / CV attenuator. And an LFO that's running a mixed sine wave at around 5 cycles per second. Now that's cleared up, let's have a look at LHAND's Percussive Mode. When in Percussive Mode, CV input variations to LHAND won't play notes as usual, but will accumulate them one by one, until an A clock trigger comes along and releases them all at once. While this method seems odd, you'll soon see it's a great new way to play polynote MIDI percussion from one jag. Now there's two places that we'll have a look at, the LHAND instrument quick box and the 4 LHAND quick boxes. First, Percussive Mode must be enabled. That's done here. Percussive, like normal LHAND, depends on the LHAND time selection to gather notes, or drums in this case. I've started a slow arpeggiated chord to provide a beat reference for this demonstration. The rhythm clock is providing triggers to A clock. I have an LFO patched to this attenuator so the CV changes can be controlled. As I increase the level, random drums start to be played at A clock triggers. The different levels select different drums. The LHAND LED indicates drums being accumulated as they happen. Because the LHAND time base is A clock 1, only 1 or 2 drums can play at trigger times. Changing the A clock speed will produce the same number of drums, just faster. Remember, A clock can be triggers with a swing or rhythm, not just a clock as I am using here. To get more drums playing at once, the LHAND sample rate must be increased. Using A clock times 2 will allow 2 to 3 drums at once. I'll raise it to A clock times 4. It's hard to hear any difference. You can see the number of drums that are playing on the keyboard display though. The LHAND CV's delta, or rate of change, still plays an important part in how many drums will play. Increasing the CV from the LFO will increase the density. LFOs are going to be inherently random for Percussa, so a more cohesive CV to control drums is of course a CV sequence. I'll change to that in a minute. The gate input selected as an LHAND time base will use the duration of the high state, like it does with LHAND, which of course has nothing to do with the A clock. You can see that the short gates produce quite an accumulation of drums, even at gate 1. Gate time divided by 2 and 4 naturally make more drums. Increasing A clock's rate means that the drums will be dumped faster, so not so many can accumulate. This means the LHAND CV rate of change must also be faster. use a CV sequence and play multiple drums, the sequence must be running quickly or changing enough to accumulate drums. I'll patch in the ornament and crime running a quick sequence so we can have predictable drums playing. Back to A clock 1, A clock 2, and A clock 4. The same drums are now playing, but because the ornament and crime sequence is being clocked at a faster and out of sync rate, drums will cycle and some are missed. A good way to include all of them is to use LHAND's fixed time setting. I'll take it down to 20 milliseconds. Now all of the drums in the sequence are getting played, and quite a few at once. Changing the inline attenuator will produce some different drums. Connected directly to the sequencer will produce more predictable drums, though, as LHAND is 1 volt per octave. The LHAND 0 volt note still offsets when in percussive mode. Because the drums are accumulating every 20 milliseconds now, the A clock input can be sped up. The new limiting factor becomes the rate of the sequencer. Thinning them out by attenuating, while nice and variable, is a bit of a counterproductive way to control drums. But it is fun. Slowing the sequencer will have a much more predictable outcome. For argument's sake, I'll change over to the mod M1's sequence, which is stepped at half the A clock rate. Lowering the cents per millisecond setting permits very little variation to trigger accumulations. Here's how you can remove any drums that are close together on the MIDI scale. Increase the cents per millisecond to over 100 or over 200. The old Mod M one-off has a fairly noisy CV output, so perhaps increasing LHAND sensitivity will pile drums back on again. There are more, but repeats of the same note won't accumulate the same drum, so the sequence remains true. VCO running at 220 Hz sine wave. Definitively, changing the speed of the host CV sequence is the best way to control LHAND Percussa's drum density. Percussive Mode only plays drums because it's on MIDI channel 10, but on other channels can play chords, but in a very different way. Although I'll spare you the sonic experience of that, it's an interesting way to make chords go along with an arpeggiation. I hope you guys out there love this mode as much as I do. It was a should we or shouldn't we addition that hopefully provides yet another cool way to use the Melisma. Thanks for watching.